It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. We're off to a good start. I'm Jeff Parles. Vinny Magliulo alongside to kick off the program. We got a loaded show. DiCenzo off the top. Jim Root of Three Man Weave talking college hoops in about 15 minutes. And then Frank Nicotero, which shout out to Frank. Amazingly enough, Vinny, he has duped us into giving him 100 episodes of punchlines after today's official 100 episode.
Well, I mean, first of all, he's earned it. Let's face it. I mean, he's flying all over town on his Vespa, which, and by the way, I don't know if we've got aerial footage of him zipping in and out. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Bad.
Yeah, I know. One of them. Yeah, you remember to hang on, Frank. But well, good for that. That's excellent, and he's done a great job. And Mr. Versatility, wouldn't you say?
That's one word to describe Frank. There are many words to describe Frank.
We have to add that one.
Yeah, but Mr. Versatility getting added to the mix as well. By the way, this is 137 for us on this show.
137.
137.
All right. Little lightweight action.
Yeah, getting there.
Yeah.
Once we get to those heavyweight numbers, it'll really be a whole lot of fun.
We'll get there, buddy.
Oh, I know
we'll get there for sure.
So before we get to today,
yes,
you joined Alex and I yesterday.
Yep.
So,
and you
said it was going to go to the Laker-Clipper game.
Yep.
Lakers monster comeback, win the game outright.
The day would go. The games that would be the get out or the gravy.
Yeah. The Arizona Wildcats thumping and covering against Arizona State.
Correct.
And then the other one, which is interesting, was the Civil War on the hardwood for the final time for a while, unless if they meet here in Las Vegas, which they could
theoretically
very easily. If Oregon State were to pull an upset, they would line up actually playing Oregon.
Yep.
Right now in Oregon's first game of the Pac-12 tournament. The Ducks won by 7.
They
did
not cover. Covered. They did not cover. So overall, a little buyback back late. It was a kind of a two-way game, more so than the other two that I mentioned. So it was the house was having a terrific day going into the Arizona Wildcats and the Lakers, and then that was it. Bettors got their revenge last night, and good for them. And they're firing today.
The Laker one, I will say this. First off, the fact that LeBron is still doing this at his age, in year 21 in the league, it's just beyond insane what he is doing right now. And for the Clippers, if you had any reservations of that team, that was a perfect example. I know Paul George didn't play last night, but
he did not.
But it's still one of those like, all right, let's get over the hump first before we can proclaim the Clippers a true Western Conference contender, which would also make them an NBA championship contender this year.
Yeah. So LeBron was questionable and probable. He did play last. By the way, he's checked the lineups tonight because he may rest tonight, which wouldn't
be shocked if him and AD
right?
both rest against the Wizards.
So, but again, you have to check lineups and everything like that. But you kind of felt he was going to, especially going against the Clippers and the Lakers, really trying to, but make a statement, if you will, Jeff. Right? They're trying to position themselves better going into the postseason, but. Listen, it's all about LeBron with them, and to your point, the guy's amazing, and as long as he's on the court, you're gonna see something. The likelihood of you seeing something pretty special is likely, and again, credit him. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see him tonight, but look, if they can, again, if they can get these back-to-backs. And position themselves better, then that would be great. Another good game tonight is in the Garden, right? The Warriors and the Knicks.
Yeah, injury concerns for New York.
Well, Randall's still out, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Brunson's
they've been
nursing that neck now,
yeah.
based off the number. Brunson's not going to play. The Warriors 4-point road favorites in this one.
Yeah, they actually laid it up a little bit.
It looks like
earlier.
They legitimately just moved the last 30 seconds back
when
to 4.
we came on. So, laying the 4 and then taking the 4.5. Two-way action, and wherever you are.
Up at the ballpark today.
She's at the ballpark, getting ready.
getting ready. Well, Frank gets to say Pittsburgh without getting penalized
Why?
on Saturday.
Why isn't there any penalty?
Oh, that's part of the job up there. Be a little weird if you just
How
only
about the team
Panthers.
from Western Pennsylvania?
I'm sure people would love that.
Okay. Well,
It is kind of funny that
these
Panthers-
stipulations.
Hey, it's all good.
It's like our Super Bowl sheet.
So I do want to NBA real quick. I do want to just bring up one other game also tonight. Denver taking on the Heat.
Yeah.
Miami playing significantly better basketball. Won 8 of their last 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
They've climbed all the way back up to the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, despite having the weakest point differential of any of the top 8 in the East. It's just they're just this team where you can't count them out. It doesn't matter what they look like for the majority of the regular season. If they're in the playoffs, they're dangerous.
They're dangerous, yes.
And the fact that now an outside shot to sneak into a home court advantage slot in round 1.
Good point.
That makes them even more dangerous. Probably lining up as a 4-5 with Boston looming in the East semifinals.
Laid the 4.5, Jeff, 5.5, up to 6.
Yep.
We're looking for the threshold for buyback on the Heat. But what's interesting about the NBA is right when you think a team has asserted themselves and gotten things right, then all of a sudden there's a clunker, right? Outside of really a couple of teams, Minnesota, I don't think has really disappointed. Denver, pretty consistent. The Celtics as well. Like that's what you're looking for, right? Is consistency. It's that's what I think gonna be important. I always talk about current form. Even though no lead is safe in the NBA, as we saw last night in LA. But look, who's consistent and who can you trust? That's what you're going to build your trust on is consistency, right? So we should learn a little bit something about the Heat here. It's a big spot for them, and so let's see how they back. Good, nice TNT doubleheader though. Really, when you think about it, Warriors at the Knicks, and then the Heat Nuggets on the second part of the doubleheader.
On the college hoops front, the Power 5 game beginning in about 20 minutes from now.
Yep.
Buckeyes, Huskers, home road splits, as we've talked about with Nebraska, pretty wide, put it politely.
Yes.
Great home team, mediocre road team. They have won 4 in a row, so they're playing good basketball, basically stabilizing themselves as a definite NCAA tournament team. A win tonight in Columbus, I would say, pretty much shuts the door on any potential chicanery from the committee on this Nebraska team. They are a 3-point dog tonight, though.
Mm-hmm.
As low as 2.5 on the overnights, Vinny, up to as high as 4, and now back to 3.
Yeah, up and down the ladder, right? We did open 3.5, but you're right, 2.5 early. Folks laid it, and right, not too long before we came on the air, it was as high as 4. Jeff, probably about 20 minutes ago. So they did take the 4. They took the 3.5 back. So here we are sitting at 3. But yeah, to your point, I still think they might need a little bit of help, Jeff, in terms of wins, which they should get between now, I think at the end of the season, and then of course in the Big Ten tournament. But I think they're an NCAA team.
Just looking at some other games on the card real quick. We'll also go deeper dive on some of these with Jim Root as well as joining us in a few minutes from now. The top of the CAA is in action tonight. College Charleston's a big favorite against Campbell. UNC Wilmington is a favorite against Hofstra tonight by 4.5. This is a league that their regular season ends this weekend.
Yeah,
and we're going to start seeing this. WCC's in action as well. Gonzaga's in action. St. Mary's in action is a big favorite. Some of these leagues you got to keep in mind ending the regular season, so that can change handicaps a little bit.
Very important point, Jeff, and a good job there with that, pointing that out, because starting next week is really March Madness for us starts next week. Now, are we going to have the same crowds that we're going to have when the big dance starts? Those first 4 days, no, but there's still conference tournaments taking place around the country, and then building up to the conference tournaments that take place here in Las Vegas, including the WCC, as you mentioned, and the Pac-12. But yeah, watch these games tonight heading into conference tournaments, which again start next week. Teams are playing for seeding now too, right? You look at current forms. Teams are trying to get healthy. Rotations, once they get healthy, rotations get stabilized and things like that. So really don't wait till the bigger conference tournaments. Pay attention to these smaller conferences and how these teams perform, because there's action to be had as we get into the conference tournaments, and you get a little bit of intel going into the big dance with those longer seeds, right?
Well, again, like, of course, Jimmy brought up Joe Lunardi a lot. A lot of people now are more familiar with these 13s, 14s,
Yes.
15s than they've ever been,
Mm-hmm.
especially those 16 seeds. Everything's at least
And Joe's projections, have added to that.
And also too, also what more so than anything is that like everything's available.
Yeah.
ESPN Plus exists now, so
Sure.
you can see any team basically at any point you want, at any time of the year. It's interesting right now where Lunardi hasn't put out a full new bracket since Tuesday, and obviously there's been a bunch of as is 2023, 2024 in college basketball, Vinny. There's been some chicanery through the week, a.k.a. BYU, to the dismay of myself, went into the fog and beat Kansas.
They did.
To give Jim Root, who will have in a few minutes, a nice distinct advantage in our BYU wager that we have. He's got top 6. I got bottom 5 in the Big 12 with a push in the middle, and I was hoping for the push. So I'm going to lose.
You're in trouble.
If they had lost that game, I actually would have had a backdoor shot to get the bottom 5.
Is there a surrender button in this game?
We're not playing blackjack.
Well, all right, buddy. Well,
Even I'll hit the 16.
You'll hit.
Let's see what.
Well,
happens.
yeah. I think. I think. Look, well, we know. Let's face it. That the Big 12 is the best conference from top to bottom. They're going to have the top amount of seeds going into the NCAA tournament. But again, it's what did they expose with Kansas? We know McCullough's injury, but Kansas doesn't go deep as it is. They're not a very good perimeter team, right? The majority of their points, I would say, probably 60 to 65% of their points come within the arc. Those are things that you want to pay attention to. Now, can they get hot? Yes, but to your point yesterday, which is another good point, is you've got those first couple of games. You have to get through them, but can somebody sustain that run? That NC State 1983 type run through 6 games, very difficult, especially with the breaks.
You even saw it last night with Alabama, where it took where they were on and then they were off and then they were on.
But that's
again.
Alabama.
No, but that's why,
still, right?
But of course, but that's part of the reason that I don't buy them as a national championship contender. Where all right, you can do.
You don't buy them because of their defense or lack of, right?
But offensively speaking, even if they had a better, last year's team had the top 5 defense in the country and got beat up by San Diego State in the round of 16.
Good point.
Look, this tournament is going to be either totally and utterly out of control with the upsets, or it's going to be as chalky as we've ever seen. I don't think there's much of an in between this year, really.
No,
I really don't.
There'll be examples of both, which makes it great, and the fact that it's wide open, and even with the projected top seeds, right? Just getting there, the journey is what's great, and then the added bets that go with it, Jeff. I've often talked about, and we'll talk quite a bit about it. The teams first to 15, not just the first halves, right? You remember, and then your halftimes and your in game and everything, but the props. Some of the instant or the shorter gratification with those first to 15s, they've become some of the most popular prop bets, not just during the NCAA tournament, but of the year. Like we'll put up, even in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, first team to 20 or whatever the case may be. Nothing gets the betting attention and the excitement than the first to 15 in the NCAA tournament.
Not.
It's a blast and it's fun. for people. It's fun for us to book. And I've got to tell you, this job, you have to have fun doing it. For any operators out there, enjoy yourselves, because you have to love, when you put out you put out a good product, which is your service and the menu to the folks. Let them have a good time, and you know what? Sometimes sit back and watch them, because that helps make it. It's a lot of fun.
It'll be a heck of a March as always, and of course, the best party in Las Vegas just upstairs, Thursday through Saturday. Yeah, upstairs at the ballroom.
We
free
did
entry, free parking.
Did it again this year with the
cheap food, good food,
free throw shooting,
which
for beers.
I'll have to get myself up there as well. No, it's the best upstairs here.
That's
here
right.
At the South Point. Vinny, before we let you go, one last thing.
Yeah, buddy.
You did say they're betting Gonzaga tonight on the in a game that for some reason, instead of playing this on campus, San Francisco has decided to play this game at the Chase Center tonight.
I'm a little surprised. Like I would have kept it on campus. Right? We talked about
it's a
how
good home court on the hill.
I have to tell you, Jeff, with these those small gyms, especially in college, some of these settings, there's a reason Rick Pitino didn't want to play. Think about it. Everybody wants to play. Every player wants to play in the Garden, right? What did Rick Pitino want to do against Connecticut? I want to play on campus. I don't blame him, because especially this time of year, home courts in college mean far more than home courts in the NBA, and some of these campus gyms are awfully difficult to play in. I remember UNLV when they had those great teams in the late '80s and early '90s. One of their toughest outs was going up to UCSB and playing those schools up there. Santa Barbara was a tough out. There's a reason, man. Folks are right on top of you. It's passion, and the energy really transcends the players as well. So, but nonetheless, that's where they're playing tonight. So we'll book it where they are.
Wherever they play, even on the moon if they play.
That's right.
For sure. All right, Vinny, let's go back to work.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for being with us today.
You got it.
Take a quick break. When we get back, Jim Root of Three Man Weave joins us next. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
From the South Point Studio, the perfect blend of sports.
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
Comedy.
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
Yeah. I am beautiful. And a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Join Ryan McCormick.
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Oreo.
And host Frank Nicotero.
When I look at the clock, I go,
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back in. Sports by the Book is the show. South Point Studio, the site. Big thanks to Vinny, as always, for hopping in. And now joining us, a three-man weave, as a fellow alum of the winless in the SEC Missouri Tigers. Even though, Jim, they covered last night, which was all that mattered to me. Taking the 13, we got there relatively easily. Our guy Jim Root with us right now. Jim, I don't want to say it's over between you and I and our BYU wager, but you are a significant favorite now after the hey, the bet's going to push was a significant favorite basically for the whole season.
Yeah, this is a classic reverse jinx if I've ever heard it. I'm not fooled at all, Jeff. You keep trying to put that out into the world. I'm not going to buy it whatsoever. My Cougars got a few more games to win to lock up that top 6 spot. We'll see, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
It would really, really be a kick in the area. You don't want to get kicked if they get to that final game against Oak State at home and blow it, and all of a sudden we end up with a push. Just throwing that out into existence.
Wishful thinking, I hope.
I mean, well, Oklahoma State's already beaten them once. Hey, crazier things have happened in that league. Granted, we know home road splits for the most part in the Big 12 have been as egregious. Not so much 2 nights ago, but before that night, pretty much as good as they've been anywhere in the country. All right, speaking of another league, home road splits have been important. Let's start there. Game in about 10 minutes in Columbus. Ohio State 3-point favorites right now against Nebraska. Look, Ohio State, we know, talented team, underachieved, got Holtman fired, been basically pretty much the same other than the upset win against Purdue without Holtman. Nebraska, amazing at Pinnacle Bank Arena, pretty average away from it this year. 3-point line with the Buckeyes favorite here.
Yeah, definitely a lean to Ohio State here. Some news coming out now. It seems like their starting point guard, Bruce Thornton, is going to be out, which, in my mind, I was like, oh, that's a big deal. He's really important to them. I go to my handy-dandy CBB Analytics website here, and the on-off numbers are basically net neutral for him, which really surprised me. Now, he plays a lot of minutes, so the sample size of him off the floor isn't overly large. But just even kind of ignoring his status, and I guess the numbers are telling me to, I like Ohio State at home here. I think they've been riding a little bit of shooting regression wave. They had a tough start to Big Ten play in that regard. And they just seem a little bit rejuvenated. They've been known to melt down late in games, kind of like our Mizzou Tigers. That was the hallmark of the Holtman era, sort of what got him fired. But then you see them go to Michigan State, and they come back from down 12. They win at the buzzer, perhaps turning a little bit of a corner, or just guys that are playing a little looser down the stretch. They're not worried about saving their coach's job anymore. It seems like the talent is starting to rise up. And again, as you noted, Nebraska on the road has not been the same team this year. The fun tidbit on Nebraska, though, since January 30th, per Bart Torvik, number 1 defense in the country. That was shocking to me. Couldn't believe that. Yeah, small sample, though, so, who knows if that's going to sustain. Regardless, Ohio State, better team at home. Big Ten home teams are 65 and 51 against the spread this year. I will still stick with the Buckeyes if I had to bet that game. Not an official play for me, though.
Well, let's get to one of your official plays. The Fighting Camels of Campbell on the road, taking on the leaders of the newly minted Coastal Athletic Association. Still the Colonial to all of us, Jim. College of Charleston, 15.5 tonight, hosting the Camels. You're looking to take it with the dog here.
I sure am. And it doesn't feel great betting the Camels on a Thursday rather than a Wednesday hump day. Unfortunately, we're going with them here. But like you said, Charleston's the leader here, and they have a chance to clinch the outright title. They'd be up 2 with 1 to play if they get this win here. We've seen a couple other teams be a little tight in that scenario. Just this week, High Point blew a big lead to Winthrop. They ended up winning in overtime. And Eastern Kentucky lost on the road at Austin Peay with a chance to clinch in the ASUN. I think there's something to that where the stakes of the game can kind of creep in and distract you a little bit. A couple things working against Campbell here, unfortunately. They played on Monday, got a big win. That one the emotion might carry over here. And of course, Charleston did not. So they're not as well rested. Campbell is not. But I still think that angle of the dog coming in, and they have a lot less to lose than Charleston. And Charleston shot the lights out last game. So maybe a little shooting regression for them too. This is just too high. I think Campbell's a really well-coached team. They've been an awesome underdog under Kevin McGee, and they run kind of Princeton-style offense. I think they can compete here and keep within that number.
Yeah, I think Campbell, honestly, with the bump up in competition, next year I actually think they have a chance to make some noise in this league. Of course, as we know now, Jim, any statement that is made in February about next season, especially for a lower league, could be null and void by April 15th. So
yeah. I mean, the portal opens and all hell breaks loose, and we got to figure out where every player is. Yep.
Yeah. So, but no, look, this is one of those I just stayed out of, Jim. It was one with 16 on the overnight. I was like, all right, maybe on Campbell. Maybe this will be one of those Charleston gets out 7-2, Jim, and I'll take even more on top of what you're taking with the Camels in this one. All right, I want to go to the extra board We've not done that much this year, Jim, here on this program. So I know Sean's going to love that in the back there. Lemoyne and Wagner in the NEC. Jim, there the market is betting it the way that you bet it, down from 132.5 on the total to 131 even in some spots on this one. And once again, I get to bring this up. Lemoyne's in Syracuse. How many Dolphins do we see floating around Syracuse these days, Jim?
Yeah, I would imagine not many. I mean, how many orange do you see too? I don't know what Syracuse is doing. They not a lot of regional specific. Yeah, they got to figure that out. But no, the under. Wagner's been an under team all year. They've basically had 7 scholarship guys for half the season. That's 6 of their 13 guys out for the season. So they've been playing slow. They're playing a lot of zone, very defensive type of squad. First game snuck over this number, 137 total points, but they're only 62 possessions. That, I think, is more predictive. Wagner had the best shooting night of their entire season in that one in a 23-point win. I think this one trends back more towards the grind, the slowdown, a little bit of a half-court struggle for both teams. And you mentioned the extra board. Look, if I had a residence, it would be on the extra board. I occasionally visit the main board. I love the extras. I'm sure Vinny is, people are all over those numbers and love to bet them. That's me. I'm one of those folks, and this is one I like. This under, even at 131.5, like you mentioned, it's come down a point from when I got it. I still think there's some solid value there given the way Wagner plays.
Continuing on here, Jim, I want to go back to the CAA. UNC Wilmington taking on Hofstra. Look, we just mentioned the Camels. The Camels took UNC Wilmington outright on Monday in what was, for whatever reason, UNC Wilmington did not like playing Campbell this year because the other game they played, they only beat them by 3. Now they're back at home, final 2 home games of the year. They get Hofstra. Hey, look, I think Hofstra is very talented for that league, but they're just not consistent one bit. That's why we're looking at this right now with Wilmington as a 4.5-point favorite in this game.
Yeah, Wilmington's been an odd squad. You mentioned the splits against Campbell, not great there. They lost at home to Elon, which was shocking, not a good team. But they won at Kentucky, and they swept Charleston. Like, they've been better against better teams, seemingly, and Hofstra measures up as a better team. So perhaps you get a stronger effort there. It's typically a strong home court there at Trask Coliseum, and their last game out there was the Elon loss. So maybe the players are kind of like, all right, we got to give the fans a better performance here. The one kind of pause I have is that Hofstra, while inconsistent, has maybe figured it out, a talented team. I think they went 5 straight games without a cover, but now their last 5, they have covered all 5. So it seems like maybe the Pride, they're hitting their stride right at the right time here. Speedy Claxton's been a solid coach, won conference title last year, alum of the school. This one I was very split opinion on, Jeff. I couldn't get myself settled on either side.
Yeah, this is one of those where it did say, all right, Wilmington bounce back spot, back at home, like you mentioned, good home court, even though with that bizarro Elon loss not that long ago. This does kind of feel like a nice bounce back for the Seahawks. But again, any given night with Hofstra, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Hofstra makes the CAA final, if they catch lightning in a bottle. Yep. They're that talented in this league. Honestly, that league 1 through 6 is pretty darn good, all things considered, even though might have to move Delaware off of that list at this point and just make it a pure 1 through 5 in that CAA. Jim, I want to go to the Big Ten next. Rutgers and Michigan here. Pretty ugly game, in all honesty, if we're being honest about it. 7.5.
I'm covering my eyes.
Yeah,
I'm covering my eyes.
138.5. There is even it's range on the total here. 138.5 behind us, up to 139.5 over at Circa, which actually just got bet up. I look, when you're dealing with 2 bottom feeders in a conference, it usually screams over. But how can you bet overs with these 2 teams, especially Rutgers, and that just putrid-looking offense they've had all year?
Yeah, and it feels like it's become even more tilted that way. Where of recent, past couple of weeks, the offense has really tanked. The defense has taken off. They've had some ridiculously ugly scoring games. They did get Jeremiah Williams about 3 weeks ago eligible. He was on the sidelines for a potential betting controversy. He is out there. He is their best guard, and he's given them maybe a little bit of spark, but hasn't quite been enough to get the offense going. Now, on the other side of the floor, you got Michigan. Doug McDaniel, the point guard, has sat out his 6 road games. He had the weird academic suspension where he could not travel for 6 games. He has served that. He's playing in this one. I wonder if that's a little bit of the over money. Just the fact that they've got a 5'9" speedster out there that can score and pushes the tempo definitely helps that offense, gives them a little more juice. But I'm with you. I think especially in big games like that, or big conferences, I trust the home team to kind of dictate the pace. And Rutgers is going to want this to be a slop fest at the rack. I lean towards the under, despite that money taking it up, like you said, at Circa.
Yeah, a little, again, it's Rutgers has been comical on offense. Not in a good way, to put it politely, over the last few weeks. Now, going into Pac-12, this one is an earlier start in Salt Lake. I'm a little bit perplexed on how the bracketologists have handled Utah here, Jim. I think they're clearly out, personally. I know they have some good wins. They have the win against BYU. They have some other good wins throughout non-con, but they're not an NCAA tournament team, at least at the moment, barring a trip to the final here in Las Vegas, which would probably mean a win over Arizona, which would change things. They're 8-point favorites tonight at the Huntsman Center against Stanford. Explain to me what I can't get with this team, because, I think they're solid, but they scream NIT, top seed in the NIT, maybe 5th overall in the NIT team this year.
Yeah, I loved Utah for a lot of the year, and then Raleigh Worcester got hurt, who is seemingly their most integral player. He's not like a mega dynamic scorer or anything, but he's a great ball mover, really good defender in the backcourt. And since he went out, they're 3-8 against the spread. It seems like it's really hurt them, and some of the on-off stuff indicates he's their most important player from an impact standpoint. So taking him away has definitely seen Utah kind of tail off. And I was perceiving the Utes as this like monster at home because of that elevation. But I looked at it today, and they're only 8-6 against the spread at home. It's not some like unfadable juggernaut when you're in the mountains. And Stanford has the size to deal with Utah. That's kind of how they usually beat people up. Carlson inside, they played Twin Towers with Lovering or Cada quite a bit. But Stanford can compete with that. So I'm not in any rush to back Utah with Worcester still out. It just hasn't been a team that's been able to exceed expectations without him. So if I did anything with this, it'd be Stanford, but I'm a little bit spooked because I don't trust Jared Haas going to face off with Craig Smith.
Yeah, this is one of those where, all right, macro-wise, I don't love Utah tonight. I can't do anything with this because of the last part that you said there. Big, distinct coaching advantage for the Utes tonight. I'm kind of surprised Haas is still there at Stanford at this rate.
I wonder if Haas is still surprised he's still there.
Well, again, it's in a sentence I never thought I would utter. Moving from the Pac-12 to the ACC will probably be a good opportunity to get a new coach. Yeah, what a ridiculous sentence I just uttered, even though it's factually correct. Even though I will say, just real quick on Pac-12 related things that don't have to do with either of these teams. I know Cal's underwater, and they lost but covered last night. The coaching job Mark Madsen has done there year one is unbelievable. I mean, that was the worst, not the worst non-DePaul program in the Power 5+1 over the last 5-7 years, ever since Konzo went to Mizzou. So that was 2017. So 7 years. It's amazing what Madsen has done in a quick time, which begs the question of what other high major is going to want to hire Mark Madsen this offseason.
Well, it should have been Stanford. He's an alum. It seemed so obvious last offseason, like, move on. This guy's a great alum and beloved guy, and he succeeded at Utah Valley. And, yeah, the turnaround he's engineered at Cal is terrific. I mean, they lost a couple OT games in the non-con, and they didn't have Jalen Tyson eligible right away. They had a couple other injuries, and then suddenly they get to Pac-12 play, and they're respectable. 9-9 right now. They've been very, very competitive. I kind of feel for them because coming into the year, I was like, all right, I like their top 5, and they didn't have them all intact for some of the games and just came together a little bit too late. But I think the trajectory is pointed squarely upward because they made the coaching move that they did last offseason, whereas their arch rival, Stanford, like we talked about, is kind of not sure what to do. They're kind of stuck in the middle, and Cal got a head start in the rebuild, and it looks like it's headed the right direction.
Oh, I mean, look, Johnny Dawkins is still available to come back to Stanford if they want. I mean, I'm sure Central Florida would be like, all right, well, even though I think Dawkins has done a better job than some people realize there this year. That was a big time leap for that program, and they've been fine. They've been honestly where they probably should have been all year in the Big 12. All right, going to the WCC. I mentioned it with Vinny. I don't know why San Francisco decided it was a good idea to take this game off campus against Gonzaga, other than the sake for selling tickets. That's the only reason that even makes a modicum of sense. If this game was on the Hill, I think I'd actually take the Dons outright. Now you take the home court out of it. Yeah, they don't have to travel far. It's in their home city, but this is almost one of those where I'm like, well, it's basically a neutral when you're dealing with what the crowds are going to be. I kind of like Gonzaga now laying just a short 4 points in a road game at the Chase Center tonight.
I do too. This number kind of surprised me a little bit because, yeah, definitely no home edge. And Gonzaga's been pretty solid on the road. I mean, they won at Kentucky. They have seen a hostile environment. This is not going to be that. Rupp is basically the size of an NBA arena, and they shot just fine there, so I'm not worried about that. Gonzaga's won 28 straight against San Francisco, which is kind of nuts to me. So the Dons have gotten close a few times, and typically when they get close, it's at War Memorial on campus, and they decided to move away from it. I think there was some NIL implications where having it there is helping their coffers in that department. But San Francisco's typical big edge is we're huge. We've got Jonathan Mobo in the paint. He's a terrific big man, pro prospect type. They've got big guards. But Gonzaga can match that. This team has a deep front line. They're not deep in the backcourt, but they have a terrific amount of bodies up front that can play, that can score. And they neutralized Mobo in the first game. His worst games all season have come against Gonzaga and St. Mary's. And I'm worried he has another kind of, not a dud, but just can't perform up to his like 25 and 10 big time levels that he's had in the past. So I like Gonzaga too. I know it's, laying 4, you got to win by more than a possession, but I think this team knows how up against the wall they are in terms of an at-large profile. And this would be a big win for them. I don't think it will count as Q1 if it's going to be neutral at the Chase Center rather than a true road. I think it'll be Q2 instead, but they need all the wins they can get. And I think they're just the more talented team.
2 more games before we let you go, Jim. Pivoting back to the Pac-12, Wazoo coming off of just a dreadful performance in Tempe. Look, it was a horrible spot for him after beating Arizona for a second time. Honestly, wish I had realized that on Saturday as opposed to 5 minutes before the game and be like, oh, probably should take something on Arizona State. They win the game comfortably. They welcome in USC, who has just been a monster disappointment this year, obviously. Forgetting just tonight, Jim, how good is this Wazoo team? Are they just a product of a league that has not been particularly good, or are they actually a team where if they're a 7 seed, it's like, all right, they beat the 10, they could take out a 2 seed that's not Arizona because, of course, they wouldn't be lined up together?
I think they're good. They're highly matchup dependent. It's a very distinct identity. They've got Miles Rice, who is their big-time shot creator, beat cancer, and now is back and is their scorer, distributor. And then everybody else is gigantic. They play 6'7" and up the rest of the rotation. They're tied for the tallest team in the country per KenPom's average height statistic. They want to beat you up on the glass, get to the free throw line, just use that size. So if they're playing a team that can handle it and has better guards, then maybe they're going to struggle. But if you catch them against a team that isn't ready for the onslaught on the glass and can't quite take advantage of their speed deficiency, then I think Washington State could pull upsets. Honestly, as I say it, Arizona seems like a team that shouldn't be that vulnerable to them because they have size and they have good guards. But Wazoo found a way. They're super well coached. Kyle Smith, known as he calls it data raid. He's playing all the math advantages that he can. And I think he's zigged when a lot of other people were zagging with speed and 3-point shooting, and he's just gone jumbo, and it's worked out really well for them. I can't believe they're in the mix to potentially win the Pac-12.
Oh, again, I think part of the big reason with the Arizona thing is big-time coaching advantage up there in Wazoo. As we've talked about, Jim, off the air, in-game, not a fan of Tommy Lloyd. Recruiting and getting a team in there might be the best in the country at this point with what he's done in 3 short years in Tucson, but not the results have not matched that talent so far, at least with Arizona, even though it's kind of silly to say that when they're going to be a 1 seed, a 2 seed, and a 2 seed. But hey, got to win some games in the NCAA tournament sooner rather than later. All right, before we let you go, St. Mary's on the road in Malibu tonight to take on Pepperdine. Of course, St. Mary's plays Gonzaga on Saturday in the final game of the regular season. Winner will get the 1 seed here in Vegas. what are you doing here with the Gaels a big favorite tonight against the Wave, 15 the line?
Yeah, so this kind of circles all the way back to the Charleston Campbell point where I was like, oh, I'm nervous about betting teams that can clinch. That's what St. Mary's can do. They can clinch outright tonight and not even have to worry about whether they beat Gonzaga over the weekend. I'm still going to ride with the Gaels. They have pummeled the bottom of this league. Pepperdine, Portland, Pacific, the 3 Ps, they've beaten them by like a combined 500 points or something like that. I'm exaggerating, but it's like 40, 45, 30, 42. Like they are just destroying this inferior competition. You can't be a team with bad shot selection against St. Mary's. That's kind of what Pepperdine is under Romar. They typically have some talent, but they'll take some shaky shots, and that just feeds right into what St. Mary's wants you to do. They want you to live in the mid-range, and then they go down and just out-execute you on the other end. I think they can do that to Pepperdine here in a small little gym in Malibu. St. Mary's has been the class of the league so far, and like I said, just dominating the inferior competition. I think they continue to do that and win this one, going away 20+.
Jim, you weren't that far off in the 5 matchups against the schools that begin with P in the WCC. Very specific stat, I know, but they are in 5 games plus 201 in those games. I mean,
it's absurd. They have demolished them.
The closest game is 25. I mean, they've just annihilated those bottom end teams. I mean, granted, Pacific might be one of the worst teams in the entire country, in all honesty, but still, I mean, that's nuts, beating anyone at the D1 level by that much in a 5-game stretch. But 15-point favorites tonight on the road in Malibu before the big showdown in Moraga on Saturday night between Gonzaga and St. Mary's. He's Jim Root, Second Chance Points on the tweet. It's 3-man weave where you can find Jim's work. As always, him, Kai, Matt have been awesome all year long. As we, you got the final one of February, Jim. We finally get to talk to you in March when we get you next time we see you, Jim. Pleasure as always. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Looking forward to see you in Vegas at South Point.
Yes, you will. Jim will be here that first Thursday of the NCAA tournament. Let's pivot here. We'll keep it in segment. We can bring him on. He will walk on to the set with his Costco glasses and all.
And short. No,
no one can see that.
Yeah, I know.
There
no
we go.
one can see that.
Look at you. Frank Nicotero,
Hey,
everyone.
what's up?
Punchline. This is the tallest Frank has ever been.
Wait a second.
Wow. Frank,
I like being tall.
First off, congratulations. You made it to 100 episodes.
Yeah, 100 episodes.
You also played mediator with me and Ryan today. And Ryan has forgiven me now.
Ryan, everything's cool on the
cool.
Otani bet. Yeah, we're good.
No, it's, I just ask you this because you're a comedian by trade.
Yes.
First and foremost with everything. Where, again, we're in a sports book. Obviously, there's a lot of sports-related things that go on. Just for you.
Yes.
Hosting this show, doing 100 episodes
Yeah.
now. What have you learned about yourself, honestly? What have you learned in the process of doing it?
It's been a long time since I've worked. I mean, let's call it a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job, really. I know you do a lot of show prep on your show. I like to have me and Ryan look for clips, and I put a script together every day. So it tells me that I can do a regular schedule again. The last time I did a 5-day-a-week gig like this was Yahoo. I used to do a show called Primetime in No Time where I got paid to watch TV, and I would write little recaps of the big moments of television every night. And it was like a 3-4 minute recap. And that was Sunday through Thursday night because it aired Monday through Friday. So that was like 8-9 years ago. So it's been a while since I've had sort of a Monday. And I'll tell you what, as I've gotten older, I like the ritual. I like the routine. I get up. I'm the kind of guy who I have the breakfast plate with the vitamins already out for the next morning. I kind of know what I'm going to wear each day. I have the glass already. I have the fork, the spoon for the, So, I'm like really enjoying it. And, it's a new start. I mean, I was in LA for the last 27 years and I'm loving it here in Vegas. And we just keep grinding out these shows and the live commenters and guests and everything keeps growing. So, we want to stick around and do it a lot longer. I know I speak for everybody on the crew as well.
We speak for this show as well. We're in 100% agreement. This is 137 today.
Yeah, I know. That's
Sports
nuts.
By the book. We've all had a blast doing these
Yeah,
shows.
and we want to keep going and
keeping them rolling.
And I mean, the tournament's going to be great. I'm looking forward to the NCAA tournament and baseball.
So have you ever done an NCAA tournament in Vegas?
No.
So here's all I'm going to warn you on.
Yes,
and
please.
I warn this for people who are coming here for the first time.
Okay.
Don't run out of gas by the end of Friday.
Okay.
Because you can very easily run out of gas by the end of Friday.
Yeah.
It's okay when there's a lull in the middle of the afternoon. You can, all right, if you're coming in town, staying here, wherever, go back to your room, take like a 30-minute power nap, and get right back to it.
All right.
It is very key to be rested during the days on Thursday and Friday, because or else
that's going to be so much fun.
You are not going to make it correct. You are going to sleep through that 9 a.m. game on Saturday and Sunday.
God,
Thankfully, if that Saturday or Sunday game ends up being a bad game, you could take a break for a little bit. But no, look, there's nothing. We just had the Super Bowl here.
The Super Bowl was great, but the tournament, I've been here for the tournament. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
You have been here for the tournament.
Yeah, just me and my friend Bob, we used to come. He's not even a big basketball fan. It's just the week we would plan that he would get off was always like mid-March.
Right. So like none of us kind of actually knew what to expect out of the Super Bowl,
right?
Because it's like, all right, is this going to be? It's going to be slow. Is it going to be crazy the whole week? Is it going to be slow? And then once Thursday hits, boom, it's going to be nuts.
Right.
It kind of was a mix of both.
Yeah, it really was.
We were at the event on opening night where there were 25,000 people at press conferences you couldn't hear from
all
the
trying
stand.
to ask Travis Kelce a question.
Yeah, exactly. But it was amazing to see that much. And it wasn't too crazy on the Strip on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. It wasn't crazy around here. And then once Thursday hit, it was like, okay, people were starting to come into town.
Yeah.
I have never seen Las Vegas Boulevard like I did on the Saturday before the Super Bowl.
I did not go out.
The only time I've ever seen it close to that was a New Year's Eve, but they shut down Las Vegas Boulevard down there. It was packed in here on Saturday. It's always packed here for the day of the game, but it was packed in here on Saturday at 8 in the morning when we were doing the show.
Yeah,
so
we had a blast on Sunday. We sat in the booth and watched
awesome,
the game. It was great.
Awesome day, awesome game as well.
But the tournament, I mean, I was here when University of Baltimore.
You were here for UMBC.
I landed. I got to where were we staying? I don't know where. The Luxor. Bob loves the Luxor.
There we go.
And
the Dorito chip.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, the sports book there. We might have been at Mandalay Bay by then. I don't remember, but it was nuts. I mean, people were going nuts. And the bet that we and this group of friends I was with, we were doing the first to 20, first to 10,
the first to 15.
First to 15. Yeah. Okay, we were doing that. And it seems like you get those lower seeds or those smaller colleges come in. They're playing on such adrenaline. They don't know how to pace themselves. They're playing a high seed. So they come out firing. They might get to 15 and then only score 40 the whole game. But it seemed like we would hit that more than not. And that was the most exciting bet.
Well, Vinny was talking about it at the beginning of the show today.
Yeah.
The people that come in and the loudest roars when North Dakota State, the 16 seed, beats Duke to 15.
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, well, it's funny. So 2 16 seeds have won now in this format. 2 have only won, beaten the 1.
Right.
You mentioned UMBC. I missed that game completely.
Wow.
Because I was in Nashville covering Mizzou getting blasted by Florida State, which then cost me St. Patrick's Day in Nashville, which was very sad because that would have been. I've done St. Patrick's Day obviously here a ton, even before moving here.
That would be my first. Yeah.
Nashville and St. Patrick's Day, I'm sure would have been even more ridiculous than here. But last year I was upstairs for when Fairleigh Dickinson miraculously beat Purdue.
That's right. Yeah.
And I had Fairleigh Dickinson first to 15 in that game.
Yeah, did they hit it?
Of course they did.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because it was like at that point, it's like, all right, you know what? This is probably just your normal feeling out process. The 16's playing well. Do I dare come back and take something else on Fairleigh Dickinson? I ended up taking a first half bet live that also hit. I did not take the full game. I didn't have the fortitude for that.
I mean, we're going to be doing both of us are going to be doing shows while these games are going on. So we're going to be looking at TVs and talking to a guest.
All I will tell you is that Thursday will be interesting. I don't know what our day plan is on a Thursday, Friday.
Sure.
I know Saturday we'll just do our normal preview shows on Saturday and Sunday for Sports by the Book. I do know Selection Sunday we are going to be in here. At least I will be in here. Would love to have you in as well.
Okay.
We'll break down the bracket. Vinny, Chris, and company will be making the numbers in the back
in the lab,
and then coming out and Frank,
Friend him up.
if you want to be the market mover on that, I'm sure you could be the market mover. Bet
I'm
the over on all 32 games in around 64.
Parlay.
Put them all together.
Go to parlay. Walk out of here owning the place.
I do want to go to something else here.
Okay.
Because like we said, today was the 100th episode of Punchlines
on Leap Day of all days.
On Leap Day, which I think is honestly pretty perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
It came on this. You also had Lunell on the show today.
We had Lunell,
who was just
she was great,
spectacular.
She got here early. We got to know each other a little bit. She does a residency at Jimmy Kimmel Sundays and Mondays. It's a later show. I think it's at 9:30. And I mean, she's been in a ton of TV shows. I mean, Hacks, which was great. She's done a couple movies with Eddie Murphy. So she was fantastic. And she was very happy to be here. And Caden walked her out to her car. She was a very sweet woman, very funny. And you came in at the tail end of that.
No, she was awesome. I mean, Hacks, what a Vegas show that actually was really good.
Yeah, really. And I'm looking forward to the next season. It's
are they coming out soon? Finally,
I don't know.
It's been a little bit of a
strike,
bit of a hiatus because of the strike last year that kind of pushed everything.
It pushed everything a little bit back. Hasn't been
set to premiere in spring of this year.
Okay, well there you go.
Whatever spring means.
Yeah,
probably
March,
May.
April, May. Could even be June 20th would be considered spring actually too, right? So you never know.
Well, be a little ridiculous at that point if it was.
Yes.
But hey, you know how it is. You're a big baseball guy too.
I'm very big baseball guy.
So you're friends with Denny Nagel, who is going to be here.
He will
not
be here
this upcoming week,
March
but
12th
the week
through the
after.
15th. Yeah,
he will be here doing the whole week of shows with you. Of course,
doing
Denny,
Tuesday through Friday.
Denny, of course, a World Series champion with the New York Yankees, was in the World Series with the Atlanta Braves as well multiple times. It will be very, very fun to hear Denny, and especially we're leading into baseball as well. Where, again, we talked about it when Chris and Vinny put all these numbers up, the division odds, all that, where the Los Angeles Dodgers just seem so much better, at least than everyone else.
103.5 wins, I think, is the over.
Yeah, I still think it's good on the over.
I do too. I really do. I mean, they did that without Ohtani. So the Braves got something to prove this year. There's a lot of interesting ones. I mean, who did we have on? Was it Denny that wanted the Reds under? I don't know. They were 82.5. We jumped around, but he'll be here. He says we got Sean Casey already booked on the show. We're hoping
the mayor.
We got the mayor from Pittsburgh. Am I allowed to say that, Jerry?
You can say it. You can say
it. Put my glasses on, Jerry. I got away with it. He's not even paying attention. And looks like hopefully John Smoltz, Chipper Jones, he's going to bring them on via the video. So it's going to be a fun week.
Chipper Jones, who probably tortured me the most as a Met fan as a young kid.
Killed you guys.
Just total
He killed everybody. But
first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, exactly.
The best switch hitter in Major League history.
Got Mantle. You got Chipper.
Yeah, it's still got to be Mantle.
Eddie Murray. I mean,
it's still got to be Mantle.
I think you got to go Mickey.
Yeah,
again, who would have put up ungodly numbers had he not been drinking half the time?
Yeah, it's still got to be. It's still got to be.
He's just the speed and the power. That combination was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Chipper, I mean, what a career. Howard Johnson. There's a Met. There's a guy that killed the Pirates all the time, and he was a switch hitter. That guy was so annoying. I think he wore number 20.
Yeah, he wore 20.
I'm having a flashback in my head of Hojo. And I met him once at a club. There was a place called Chauncey's in Pittsburgh where a lot of the baseball players went after games, and you would see the Met. This is late 80s when the Mets were epically going out and drinking.
Well, was this also when this was before Keith? This was before the drug trials.
No,
right?
the drug trials were mid 80s or early 80s.
So the drug trials were before.
Right,
this.
but they would still hang at this bar, and Darryl Strawberry stood out like a sore thumb. He'd be in the back of this club,
giant human being,
giant, and just. A lot of the Mets were there, David Cohn and Howard Johnson. So you'd see all the Mets, and this is back when it was Muck the Fets, for the Pirates, because they were getting treated like a little brother to the Mets. So, we would just stare at them and seethe, but we knew they were also, legends. Strawberry, Gooden, I mean, all these guys.
Just looking through of all this, more names than you realize in those drug trials in 80.
Well, Dave Parker. I mean, there were a lot of guys. Here's the thing about the drug trials that were held in Pittsburgh. The supplier for a lot of the Pirates, there's a book that I've read, and I can't think of the name of it. I've actually bought copies for friends. The person selling the cocaine to the Pirates was the Pirate Parrot mascot, whose name was Kevin, and his last name was Koch, pronounced Coke. Kevin Coke
Perfect.
was the parrot. And if you remember, the parrot was very thin in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And then they changed to the heavier one. It's because he kicked the drugs. But the drug trial, there's a book on the drug trials and Keith Hernandez, obviously.
So-
There's a lot of guys.
All right. Then you brought up mascots here.
Yeah.
You brought up mascots.
I did.
We somehow earlier in the show ended up on Jim Root had a pick on the Lemoyne basketball game.
The who?
Lemoyne College in Syracuse, New York.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. First year in D1. They were D2,
okay.
3
Maybe that's
power
why-
for a long
okay,
time. Lemoyne. They're in Syracuse.
Okay.
Their nickname is the Dolphins.
Okay.
For Syracuse.
It's lovely. Yes, exactly. That makes no sense.
Like, hey, how many Dolphins are floating around in
None.
Syracuse?
They should have went with
even out of the orange makes more sense than a dolphin.
I don't get it. Yeah, the snowballs, the Lemon. What are they? Lemoyne.
Lemoyne.
Lemoyne rhymes with Des Moines.
Yes.
Lemoyne Dolphins. These are these shirts. We keep talking about. We got to get shirts of these places. Got to wear them during the tournament.
Oh, get one for Chris.
There you go.
He'll wear it.
Yeah, Chris will wear it.
They're in action. He'll wear it.
That's right.
He'll wear it for sure.
Oh my God.
All right. Before we end here today, Frank, you Big Al tomorrow on the show.
We have Big Al McMorty's going to be on.
Yeah.
I don't know who else is going to be on the show. I know Ryan and I will both be there. And I will possibly, I've lost a bet that I have to be dressed.
Oh, not possibly. You will be dressed as a Dalmatian
tomorrow. All right. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. I got something cooking.
I'm very excited for that. Sean's very excited
because
for it.
I lost a bet to Ryan, and he said on the 101st episode.
Actually, you know what? I have to bring this up.
Okay.
Sorry, Caden. Our guy Caden in the corner there.
Uh-oh, wait a second.
We somehow got on talking about hot dogs. And
okay.
Caden is basically talking like he's Joey Chestnut over there.
That he can eat a lot?
That he was saying he could do one hot dog in 15 seconds.
Bun and all, no water or water.
Give him whatever he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
And 3 in a minute. So we got him a hot dog before the show.
Right.
Just to say, all right, this is your trial hot dog.
And?
He did one in 54 seconds. It was embarrassing for someone talking up the game he was talking. It was embarrassing. Or Sean, who was like, oh, let's just see what it is.
Right.
Sean came in, and Sean honestly was well on pace. We said, all right, you do it in 45?
Right.
He was well on pace, but then took one too many bites, left one extra bite, and it cost him 7 seconds.
Oh, Sean.
But Sean did still beat Caden even with that blunder.
Or is Caden a genius that he got a free hot dog out of it?
Well, no, so next Thursday, Frank,
okay,
he's going to have to do 3 in a minute, or else he's going to be paying me back for the hot dog today and the hot dogs that he consumes, even if he fails next week.
Well, what are they? $1.50? Right?
Yeah, it's not high stakes.
It's not high stakes. Get petty cash. Where's Ann? There is no petty cash. You really think but why does he think that it took 54 to do one that he can somehow in a week?
He thinks with intense training he can do 3 in a minute in a week. I thought he was insane on the 1 in 15. And after watching his performance, I think he has no chance of doing 3 in a minute.
Was this a plain hot dog?
Yes.
Oh my God.
The complaint he had, it was too hot. And he burnt himself.
Okay, well,
that was his complaint. Which, all right, you know what?
Something you've never heard Joey Chestnut say.
Yeah, but this is what we're gonna do in order to temper the temperature.
Okay.
Of the hot dog.
Get it early.
We will get the 3 hot dogs.
Yeah.
We will place them on said desk, and they will sit here for 5 minutes exactly.
All right.
And then Caden will go.
When is this happening?
This will be next Thursday, in between our 2 shows.
Oh, we're not doing it on the show?
We could do it.
To shoot it.
We could do it on Punchlines if you want.
How about your segment?
During my segment, I'll very happily give the time for Caden to do it during my segment.
Next Thursday, 3:50, fight after school. Be there.
100%. No, not 3:50.
Playground.
12:50.
12:50. Oh, I was doing East Coast time for everyone watching back east.
I have never felt more confident in anything.
Do you think you can do it? 3 in a minute?
He is.
Did you hit the buffet today?
The line was
too long. Damn it. I just checked the Bucks dinner and go now. Scratch it out.
But Frank, I will tell you, I'm happy that I left enough time to get to that, because that was the most, easily.
They're thick hot dogs. I mean,
they're pretty, they're thick hot dogs.
Yeah.
They're the Vienna beef.
Yeah.
Kate, they're okay. All right. I'm just making excuses in the back there now.
They're not Wiener Schnitzel hot dogs.
L.A. Staple, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he lived right by. We found out, though, he lived 2
Yeah,
blocks
see,
from
he
me.
lived essentially in your house.
Yeah, he was probably right down the street from me.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that we figured that out.
All right, next week I'm in.
All right.
I have faith in you, Caden.
Well, Frank has faith. We'll see how it goes. All right, Frank. Tomorrow you're back noon. Punchlines.
101 Friday. Very exciting. We're going to have Big Al and somebody.
Be ready for it,
It's
everybody.
a surprise, ladies and gentlemen.
We're back tomorrow, 3 o'clock Pacific time. Lou Finicaro will join the show here. We're looking forward to having Gamblou in the flesh here in the studio. Good work. Caden, still love you, buddy. Sean, what is that? Hope you lose your 8.5. We already talked about that.
We covered that.
Today.
We covered that on.
Already got pushed back
to
a
April
month on
1st,
that.
and it's 8:15.
Got pushed back a month now. I got extra time. Jerry, great work as always. I'm Jeff
He's a
Parles.
man.
We'll see you again tomorrow, 3 o'clock here on Sports by the Book.